the week. It's time for some more Premier Sim Gaming Leagues. Today it's Formula 7's round 10, and we arrive at the American circuit here in Coda for the penultimate round of the season. As always, I am joined by WR Storm. And how are you doing? Are you looking forward to today's American Grand Prix?
Yeah, obviously, last week I wasn't, unfortunate. We think they are. 'Cause I just see the everybody. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
I
there's a
think
lot of
um, I
start.
think it's going to be a lobby restart as most people are leaving. So I guess we'll just delay the stream by that little bit, and hopefully we'll be back in and up and running in a few minutes' time, I suppose. All right, hello everyone. Welcome back. It's that time of the week. It's time for some more PSGL today. It's Formula 7's penultimate round of season 31, and we arrive at the COTA circuit here in America. As always, I am joined by Storm. And well, now that we actually have time to do an intro before everyone leaves, well, what are you looking for in this race? You think it's going to be a good one in this penultimate round with the championship battle heating up?
Yeah, obviously we've had two USA Grand Prix this calendar season. I think a lot of people kind of now maybe forget about COTA because obviously Miami, the new track, everyone wants to kind of race that new track. But yeah, COTA obviously very tricky and technical circuit, especially through the S's where woman should I say, is going through now, can invalidate very easily. Got a very nice straight with the DRS as well. But yeah, as I said, it is a very tricky circuit to nail on the perfect lap here in qualifying.
Yeah, definitely is. And yeah, like you said, definitely technical, but also plenty of overtaking spots. As you can see, we're watching IRT Renz, the reserve driver, making his second appearance here in Formula 7. He just went through the technical part of Sector 3, but there's also that big, long DRS straight that goes all the way to that hairpin of turn 11s. Definitely expect to see a lot of overtakes going into there, but let's ride on board for our first lap of the session. IRT Renz prepping his first lap of the session on the soft compound tyres. ERS and DRS both engaged now, and let's see what kind of lap time he can put together. And coming into turn one, using the full width of the track on the right, hitting that apex very nicely, and then not touching that exit curb, as it can really unsettle these cars that rely so much on the underfloor. Coming through the S's now, you're trying to cut these as much as possible and then get a nice flowing line coming out of them into this turn. You can see a little bit turning in a little bit too early and had to make a correction going through there, and you can see gets up too much on the curb. Lucky to keep his front right wheel. He's still in this session, but he's going to have to abandon this lap and also box for a new front wing, so very close for IRT Renz. The man right behind him who's on this lap is Ice Sharky, coming through turn 10 now, a bit of a wider line to try and get that better exit for the Alpine driver, and then obviously opening this DRS for this the longest straight at this track. That brings us all the way down to turn 11, and what is the beginning of the final technical sector. You can see that hairpin, and then we come into these very flowing turns, taking these through third, fourth, even shifting up to fifth, going to this left-hander here. But you can see taking that quite nicely. Now the triple right high speed, you want to be flat out through here. Carrying sixth is Ice Sharky. And now the final two turns for him, you can see full width of the track on entry, just about keeping it within the track limits on exit. Cannot find the apex for the final turn, but across the line, it is going to be a 1 minute 33.5. Can any other driver beat that? Looks like GSP Payne has abandoned his lap time. TF Yagasan has had a spin at the triple right. It looks like one of the Alfa Romeos is finishing up his lap time. That's Alex the G now coming through the final turn. A lot of drivers, as you can see, struggling to hit that final apex of the lap. He comes across the line to do a 33.6. XRT Bruno is able to set a 33.7 in his AlphaTauri, and we're going to see plenty of more lap times coming in. But now that we've seen the first few lap times of the session, I think while we're in this qualifying session, a good talking point is how the championship battle is heating up between kart racer in the Alfa Romeo and, well, this man right here, XRT Bruno, who after 9 rounds, of which he's attended 7 of, and won 2 or 3 of, I think it is, the exact number, I'll get it for you, how many races XRT Bruno won, because he's obviously in this championship battle. He's been mega consistent all season, and he has got 1 race win to his name, but he also has 5 podiums as well. So he's been doing great work in F7, and he's now 9 points behind Kart Racer in the championship, and he's a full-time driver too. So I think he'll also be getting a full-time seat next season, hopefully, in PSGL's F7. But yeah, 9 points between those guys. Kart Racer has the advantage. Who do you think has the best chance in this championship battle after what we've seen so far this season?
I think obviously you've got to look at the Bruno situation. When we first had, I think he started out, and to see him come on leap and see finding that confidence, grinding out them wins, especially like Belgium when we went to Belgium, when it wasn't the best of race for everybody. Yeah, he's someone you know be looking beyond, might be looking at maybe 6 of area, because he's going to be improving every week. So be focusing on not just this race, but the next one, and then what happens next season.
Yeah, he definitely will, and I think we're going to see him racing here again in PSGL next season after what he's done so far this season. But yeah, very close between those two guys in the championship. XRT Bruno, I think he's missed one more round than Kart Racer, so it's put him on a little bit of a back foot compared to Kart Racer. But they've both been extremely competitive all season, and XRT Bruno has scored 3 podiums in a row in the last 3 races he's raced in. But Kart Racer has been on great form recently. He won round 6, round 7, missed round 8, but he won round 9. So technically 3 consecutive wins, at least in the races that he showed up to. So yeah, he's had some mad pace recently, and we're going to have to see if he can continue that on. He hasn't set a lap time just yet, but he'll be looking to set one soon enough. And well, here it is. You can see he's now coming through the final turn, nice and wide line to begin his first lap time of the session with 10 minutes and 20 seconds to go. DRS wide open for this pit straight, and then it's a blind turn 1. You're not too sure where the apex is, but he manages to hit it anyways. Uses a little bit of that exit curb, tries to get on the power as early as possible with that downhill incline. It's very easy to spin those rear wheels. You can see taking these apexes really nicely, cutting the track as much as possible, going a little bit wide into that left-hander, wide entry into this right to give himself the best exit going on to this little straight that brings us to the hairpin of turn 10. Really need a good exit out of here because it's going to set you up for this DRS straight. You can see you just took that so nicely. Late apex early on the power, and it's a great exit coming onto this long DRS straight. It's going to gain him plenty of time on this particular lap. We now come into turn 11 and the final sector of the lap time. Can he find his apex? Yes, he can. Not using as much as the width on the exit, as there are those new sausage curbs which can send your car flying if you hit them the wrong way. Now into this long left-hander, which you also need a good exit for. Set yourself up nicely for this triple right. Flat out, you can see how high his speed is. 6th gear going through here, over 260 kilometers per hour. Wide entry, but with that wide entry, it made him miss the apex. Final turn now, just about hitting this one. Gets himself a good apex. You can see a little bit of wheel spin on exit, but across the line, it is going to be a 1 minute 33.3, and he's just been edged out by the McLaren of GSP Payne, who has set a 33.2. And one thing that I actually noticed before this round is GSP Payne, he's a reserve driver in F7. He's raced in 2 races. In those 2 races, he has 1 race win and 1 P2. So he's not come to many of the rounds, but the rounds that he's come to, he's really shown everyone how it's done. Do you think we're going to see more of that today?
Yeah, I think we will, and that's the effect that a reserve can have. I think is they can show off at any race, and if you're a championship leader and they are potentially quicker than yourself, it does put that kind of edge in the situation of, well, this guy's going to potentially take points off from me, or female, whichever, so it can be quite an effect, especially if Payne is a reserve, as you said, and he is winning races, because that's points taken away from kart racer Bruno or anybody in the championship lead. So yeah, it's great to have reserves because obviously it fills up the grid and everything, but sometimes they can take points away when there is a championship battle. So yeah, it's an interesting situation, I think, if you are a reserve.
Yeah, and it's definitely, with these two guys so close in the championship, it's their job. Well, it's going to have to be their job to beat these guys who come in every now and again and show that they have such quick pace. And who knows, maybe if GSP Payne was a full-time driver, we could have even seen him in this championship battle. But Bruno coming across the line now, he sets a time 4/100ths faster than Kart Racer. And Bruno, I'm not too sure if he's going to be focused on winning the race or just finishing ahead of his championship rival. He needs to make sure that he gains those 9 points in these final two rounds. So I think we're going to see both these drivers play a little safer, especially Kart Racer. Now that he has this lead, might be taking a little bit cautiously into these final two rounds to try and secure that championship in this PSGL F7. But you can see right now, Ice Sharky 2/1000ths faster than XRT Bruno. Puts himself P2 recently. He's currently on the provisional front row, and everyone has set a lap time in this session apart from Wama, who is yet to set a representative lap time. But you can see he's currently on a proper lap now, making his way through the final sector. And well, let's see what kind of time the Ferrari driver can set. But you can see just takes a little bit too much curb in that final right of the three right-handers in a row, and that invalidates his lap time. If he hadn't have done that, it would have been a 33.8, which would have put him P7 in this session there, or thereabouts. So he definitely shows he's got the pace to be in that top 7, maybe even top 6 and 5 if he can find more improvement on that lap, but just needs to focus with the track limits. But yeah, another thing I'd like to mention is NSX Hamilton. He's a new driver to this division. This is going to be his first race here in Formula 7 in the Williams. Right now, he's down in last place of anyone who set a proper lap time. But who knows? Maybe he's struggling with the track limits. Do you think we could possibly see this new driver upset the top guys?
Yeah, I think that's kind of a situation that you do get. You know, any new driver that comes in, and it is their first race, you don't know what they're gonna be like or what their pace is gonna be like. So yeah, I think in that situation, obviously, he's not, in the way of the championship fight as such at the moment. But I think going obviously into the championship fight, Kart Racer and Alex both know each other very well, so they're going to be doing their, team orders, tactics, and everything to try and get Kart Racer in front of Bruno. But I think the crucial part here for Bruno is to be starting higher in the qualifying, or after qualifying, than Kart Racer, because then he can build that gap. So if there's a safety car, because it is quite likely here in COTA, or penalties become a factor because of the, I think it's the S section, we both know it can get you quite a few penalties. So yeah, that's, I think, Bruno may be wanting to be looking at a pole time here if he can beat Payne.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, with those track limits, it's definitely a struggle at a track like this where it's so twisty with so many bends, and you're just trying to shorten your line to the finish line. And those are the kind of tracks where you're going to be picking up the most penalties, where you're trying to push those track limits to the absolute limit to gain as much time as possible. And that's something we're definitely going to see in the qualifying session, because these drivers need to set lap times as quickly as possible. They really want to be getting themselves up there, especially people like XRT Bruno and kart racer GSP Payne, the reserve driver who's got a 100% top 2 finish rate here in PSGL F7, even though he's only done 2 races, is now about to begin what will be one of his final lap times of the session and the final lap time on fresh soft compound tyres. So let's see what the provisional poleman can do on his final fresh lap of the session. You can see coming out of the final turn now with the DRS open and the ERS on, coming into turn 1, wide entry into here. You can see taking a bit of that orange sausage curb on the inside, maybe a bit of a different line to everyone else that could be gaining him time in the session into the S's. You can see so committed through here and pushing the track limits that little bit more than everyone else, and that is exactly what is going to be gaining you the time in a section like that. Going through the first part of that second sector, really nice, and then the exit of turn 9 giving him a good advantage coming into turn 11 here. You can see taking that nice E1 to get a late apex there, so you can get this good exit. Like I said many times before, crucial that you get it onto this long DRS straight using the full width of the track here on the right hand side, and it's going to be able to give him the best entry coming into this turn 12. We now begin this very tricky third sector. 13 we go. You can see a little bit of a correction, turned in slightly too early going into turn 13. Snap of oversteer on the exit of 14 into 15. It's a very tight line, almost touching the sausage curbs on the exit of turn 15. Thankfully avoiding those, as that could have done some damage to his car. Now into the final two turns. Turn 20 coming up, as you can see, into this final turn, hitting that apex quite nicely. A little bit of wheel spin coming out of that final turn with third gear. He improves by a tenth and a bit and sets a 33-1. It's now everyone else's job to try and beat that lap time. XRT, Bruno, Kart Racer both beginning their lap time, so we're going to ride on board with we're going to flick in and out of both of them to see how much they're improving after each and every sector. XRT Bruno, though, he's about to start his lap time, his final lap time of the session, as we only have 30 seconds to go into turn 1. How well can he take this? A little bit of a lockup, but a late apex gives him a good exit. Kart Racer, though, just starting his lap time as well. XRT Bruno into the S section now. You can see not taking that much curb into the first part of it, but then taking a lot more and a lot more committed for the final bit to give him a good exit and a good run through these very twisty bends. Turn 9 coming up here, easy to spin the wheels, but you're now able to take a much wider line on the exit turn 9. That gives him a big advantage coming onto this straight, which now brings us to turn 11. You can see missing that apex. That is going to cost him time, and but you can see Kart Racer has actually spun on his lap time. The exit of turn 9, he's spun, and he's not going to be improving on that 33.3, and that is going to leave him with a best position of P4, but people are trying to improve out there. Meanwhile, XRT Bruno 2/10 up on his lap time, and if he continues this pace, he'll be looking for to steal that pole position off of GSP Payne, and this is exactly what the AlphaTauri driver could use to get pole position while his rival isn't able to set a final lap time. Meanwhile, Kart Racer's teammate Alex G also having a spin into turn 19, not just missing that apex of turn 19, but into turn 20, it's a very tight line. Thankfully, not invalidating across the line. Has he improved enough? Yes, he has. He sets a 33 for that. He goes P1 in this session. Is there anyone that can beat him? It doesn't look like it. Can Miguel possibly upset the top guys? Currently down in P6, coming out of turn 19 and through turn 20 now. What kind of time will the Aston Martin driver set? He's currently P4 in the championship standings. He sets a 33.5. Improves his time, but not his position. Miku has invalidated his lap time. Meanwhile, his teammate wasn't able to improve, and that is going to be the end of this qualifying session. It looks like XRT Bruno pole position. Meanwhile, his championship rival has got Ice Sharky and GSP Payne between them. So, yeah, I mean, that's got to be one of the best results that XRT Bruno could have had in that session.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting qualifying, isn't it? So XRT Bruno takes pole position by 45 thousandths of a second from the German of GSP Payne. And then we've got iSharky in P3, Kart Racer P4, Alex the G P5, EWS Miguel in P6, Milowiski in P7, you said Baguette then, Bugatti in P8, woman or woman in P9. And then rounding off the top 10 is IRT Renz. And outside the top 10 is SXT Daniel, TF Yagazan, and then LLR Olaf, and then NSX Hamilton. And the very interesting point also as well, the drivers can choose what tyres they want to start on because the Q2 or the qualifying rule is out. But yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, with that tyre rule, you can obviously start on any tyres they want on this Formula 1 22 game. But around this COTA circuit, we usually expect something like a hard medium or a medium hard, depending on what kind of strategy the drivers want to go for. Do they want to start on the hards, go for that overcut, and try and gain an advantage in the end of the race, or do they want to get onto those mediums straight away, use their advantage while they have it? Well, at least in Formula One's esports series, we've been seeing a lot of drivers starting on the hard tires because they don't want to deal with that warm-up phase after the pit stop. So I think that's possibly something we could see today.
I think it's looking overcast here today in COTA. So I think maybe start obviously on the hards might be the better option. Get them out the way, as you said, the warm up. They're going to take a few laps to get involved. Not involved as such, but get with the race. And I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, and you can see we have 5 red lights. They're gone. We're away. What kind of start is it for our AlphaTauri driver of XRT Bruno? It's a decent one, but GSP Payne is pulling alongside into turn 1. Down the inside he goes. Can he stick this move on our pole position, man? Not quite. XRT Bruno maintains the lead coming out of turn 1. Kart Racer moves up a position. He's up into the podium positions. Going side by side into the S's, has to back out of that one. Miku gaining that position. Meanwhile, NSX Hamilton has already gained 2 positions, but you can see that's a spin because there's been contact between himself and Bugatti, both losing a lot of time down in P13 and P14 now. We now see Miguel defending from SXT Daniel, but turning defense into offense. Daniel almost making it 3 wide into turn 11, but it looks like Miguel has got a decent exit up against Wame, but Wame is going to maintain that P7 position for now. But Miguel, you can see he's on the attack and he looks to the inside once again into turn 12 this time. Cannot make that move stick, decides to back out of it, and was that possibly a splash of rain I just saw there? I'm not too sure, but meanwhile we have Alex G in P5 putting pressure under Ice Sharky, who's in a bit of an Alfa Romeo sandwich as it is. Qualified P3, now P4, and the Alpine driver has been showing some great pace recently. Let's see if he can keep this up and possibly finish in the top 5, maybe even the podium, although it will be difficult when you have such a high caliber who are currently in the podium positions. XRT Bruno, GSP Payne, who's at a 100% podium rate, and Kart Racer, our championship leader. So a lot of talent in these top 3 positions, so it's going to be difficult for people like Ice Sharky and Alex G to try and get themselves into those podium positions. Meanwhile, we have SXT Daniel making the move on EWS Miguel. He moves himself up into P8 in this race. It's now his job to stay within 1 second of the Ferrari driver of Wama ahead of him. But one interesting thing to note, GSP Payne on the teetering edge of the DRS of XRT Bruno. XRT Bruno absolutely flying at this early stage on these hard compound tires. And if we take a look at the position changes here, it's not been a great start for some, such as NSX Hamilton and Bugatti, who make contact between each other coming out of turn 7, I should say. They're currently down at P13 and 14. But then we have people like SXT Daniels gain 3 positions off the race start, moved from P11 to P8. So it's been a good start for drivers like him. But you can see the gap between P1 and P2 is currently 1.4 seconds. in this race as the AlphaTauri driver of Daniel making another move on Wama this time. As Wama tries to fight back down the inside, but you can see he made contact with Daniel's rear, gave him a little bit of a twitch on the back end, and he's now lost DRS to Miku ahead. But moving back to what I was saying about the top two, XRT Bruno already pulled out of DRS. He's showing some great pace so far.
Yeah, he is. Oh, his Renz has retired. Is that going to cause... And I think that's caused the safety car. Yes, can you see the yellow circle? Because I'm trying to... I think it may be a VSC. I think it is a VSC, yeah, it is a VSC. So driver's speed will be reduced by 40%. And I think that's going to be a gut-wrench moment for Kart Racer. Because he was under the DRS 1 second. And the previous lap, going through the S sections, he was relatively close to GSP Payne. Yagazan has opted for the softs. They won't last very long. But yeah, not a good day for the IRT driver of IRT Renz. And just looking at this, once the VSC, should I say, goes and everything, Kart Racer is now over the 1 second. So this hasn't really benefited him as what we thought it might have.
Yeah, and it's going to be up to these drivers to try and get themselves the best possible VSC restart. We could see Kart Racer losing DRS to Payne. Maybe Payne getting back within that 1 second. You can see gaps fluctuating quite a bit. But you can see the drive-through penalty giving to SXT Daniel as he was speeding under safety car conditions. So he now has to serve that drive-through. Meanwhile, this VSC has really... Payne has really benefited from this VSC. He's now all over the back of XRT Bruno, who didn't control his pace as he maybe would have liked. GSP Payne was 1.5 seconds behind. The gap is now 0.3. He's put on the ERS and has the DRS enabled, and he now looks to the inside of our championship contender of XRT Bruno, sends it down the inside, hits his apex, and gets the move done. Coming into turn 1, we said GSP Payne was going to be fast with his 100% podium rate, and he's showing us that that is true. He's now P1 in this race and leading from the two championship contenders. XRT Bruno in the better position of the two contenders, and he'll be looking to win this race as he was showing great pace early on, but he's now got to make the move on GSP Payne, which he's doing now into turn 11. He gets that move done down the inside just before the braking zone as well. So let's see if he can maybe even pull away from the DRS of Payne. But Payne is going to have DRS for this very long back straight. Is he going to look for another move coming into turn 12? He hasn't got the ERS enabled. He's just going to stick behind XRT Bruno for now. Does a little bit of a dummy coming into this turn 12. You can see XRT Bruno not hitting his apex there. That's going to cost him a little bit of time, but he needs to go full push now if he wants to try and break the DRS of GSP Payne, or maybe he's happy to just lead this race and control the pace even with Payne putting him under that pressure. But a little bit of strategy talk. Hard tires for everyone on the grid, so I guess our predictions were right there. Want to get the hards out of the way, and it could even be a case of that there's going to be rain later on in this race. As you said before, it's quite a bit of overcast, so possibly rain inbound. But we now see GSP Payne putting on the ERS button once again, and that's because he's looking for a move into turn 1. Meanwhile, we also see Miku trying to overtake Alex G. GSP Payne once again getting the move done on XRT Bruno. Miku also putting the pressure under Alex G. So we're seeing a lot of action going on between a lot of drivers, and you can only imagine that XRT Bruno is going to go for a move into turn 12 once again.
Yeah, he probably will be. Just looking at the situation as Daniel gets a 3-second time penalty. This swapping and changing between Bruno and Payne is really helping Kart Racer and iSharky come in. Or, as Daniel has tried in the pits, there won't be a safety car or anything like that. But Sharky, or iSharky should say, is now just slowly reeling in Kart Racer. They're both under the 1 second to the car in front of them for iSharky and Kart Racer. So yeah, it's literally every driver from themselves. And if you go back to the earlier start of the season, if you remember, obviously QRT Ian dominating each race, just the way Payne is racing just reminds me of, the kind of races that we had. It was that kind of situation. Obviously, I think if we had Payne here racing full time, we could have had maybe a QRT Ian versus Payne kind of championship battle. But Bruno and Cut Racer have made that championship battle their own, and now they are going to have to fight for potentially the race win or have to settle for P2.
Yeah, and yeah, like you said, they're going to be battling for this race win. They're going to be pushing flat out, but I feel like, well, it's going to be hard to call because are they going to be going aggressive? Are they going to be playing it cautious? Do they think they need these championship points? Because as it stands right now, if I'm not mistaken, Bruno is in P2, and with this point system here in PSGL, it's a little different to real life because for P2 you get 12 points, whereas P3 gets 10 points. Right now, Bruno is only going to be gaining 2 points in the championship. That would leave a 7-point gap, and that would mean he would have to win the race with fastest lap, and Kart Racer would have to finish below P3 next race. So I think Bruno definitely needs the win if he wants to have to give himself a better chance in this championship. So he's going to be pushing flat out to try and beat Payne in this Grand Prix, but Payne has been showing some good pace so far. Bruno was pushing very hard at the start, and well, the pace was reflecting that. But I think Payne is starting to push a little bit more now because he's currently broken a gap to Bruno behind of, well, you can see there, it went up for 1 second for a second, but Bruno is pushing right back as he sets a 37.9 and 1/10 slower, or 1/10 faster, I should say, than Payne's fastest lap of the Grand Prix. So they're both putting pressure on each other. Payne putting pressure on Bruno to push to stay within that DRS, and Bruno maybe intimidating Payne a little bit by setting that fastest lap of the Grand Prix, but it's a mistake from Payne. Bruno has to brake in the middle of the track to avoid it, and this now gives Kart Racer the lead of the Grand Prix. Meanwhile, Bruno falls down to P4, so a mistake from GSP Payne heavily affecting XRT Bruno. Bruno is not going to be happy with that.
No, that is one costly mistake from GSP Payne. Feels like I'm watching Singapore highlights here with all the drama. No, but that's definitely costly for Bruno, should I say? As yeah, we've also got Alex the G right on the back of iSharky, the German driver versus the Italian. That's a bit of a mixture to have the Italians versus the Germans, and yeah, he's going to be right on the back. But this could be a very nice situation for... Oh, what's happened to Sharky? Sharky, I think, has gone for a spin somewhere because he is dropped down. But look at this now, as Alfa Romeo lead 1-2 on to lap number 7, and this is going to be perfect for Kart Racer. He can just let Alex sit there and soak up the pressure from Bruno as they go on to lap 8 and make their way through the S section.
Yeah, and you can see 2 costly mistakes are heavily affecting this race's outcome, and heavily the Alfa Romeo team heavily benefiting from it, as they are now 1-2 in this Grand Prix after Payne and iSharky both having a spin. You saw there, iSharky had that spin through the triple right-hander. He falls all the way down to P11 and boxes for fresh medium tyres. He's going to try and stretch those for 20 laps, although it's going to be tricky as the threat of rain is looking a lot less likely as we see the sun beginning to shine over the track. So any chance of rain that we thought there might be is looking very unlikely at this stage. But you see here with XRT Bruno currently P3 and the two Alfa Romeos 1 and 2. Bruno was in a great position to beat his championship rival this race, gain some points in the championship, but now it's looking like Kart Racer could possibly, well, almost secure the championship. If he gains, right now as it stands, he will gain 5 points on Bruno. That would make the gap between them 14 points, and that would essentially mean Bruno would have to win the next race, while Kart Racer would have to score less than 2 points. So if things stay as they are, the chances of Bruno winning this championship will be extremely unlikely. So Bruno is going to be pushing to the absolute maximum. He might possibly change it up with the strategy, possibly go for an undercut to gain that track position over Alex G and Kart Racer, or maybe go for an overcut so he has that extra grip and make it easier to overtake these two guys. But you can see the pace of the top three. They've pulled away from the DRS of the Haas driver of Miku, who's struggling to keep up with these guys. You can see coming through turn 11, he's a second behind. And I don't think he'll be getting any DRS, even though he's down to 8% ERS. So he's been pushing really hard to try and keep up with these guys. But their pace is just really, really strong at this stage. But I was just taking a moment to talk about strategy there. Undercuts, overcuts. What do you think would be the best strategy today for someone like XRT Bruno to go for that undercut and gain track position, or maybe try the overcut for fresher tyres?
Yeah, I think because see the hards will go to around about lap 16, lap 17. Obviously, well, that's what the game tells us anyway. Yeah, so I think in Kart Racer's situation, he'll probably stick out longer than what Alex will, unless Bruno gets past Alex, which could be quite possible because he is under the 1 second. So Alfa Romeo have got to play this tactically. They've got to do the right thing, and I think maybe boxing Alex first, but then, yeah, it's a situation where Alex needs to kind of pick up the pace, I think, to obviously let, kind of Kart Racer to go off in the distance a little bit more. So, yeah, I wouldn't be pitting just yet. I think you'd have to go maybe a little bit further than the 16 laps on the HUDs to get that gap. I think especially for Alex or Kart Racer.
Yeah, and you mentioned there those guys are going to have to play tactically. Lucky that they're both in the they're both Never Last Racing esports teammates, so you can bet that they're going to be in a party together, working together to try and help Kart Racer win this play between those guys. Meanwhile, in the background, we have Wama making the move on Miku, also NLR Oli Olaf making the move on NSX Hamilton. He was himself up in the P7 right behind his teammate, 5.2 seconds actually behind his teammate. Meanwhile, GSP Payne on a bit of a recovery drive, looking for the move on the new Williams driver down the inside into the triple right-hander. Hamilton isn't going to be able to hold that around the outside, and Payne moves himself up into P8, although he does have himself a 3-second time penalty, which is going to cost him towards the end of this Grand Prix. But I think right now he'll be focused on pushing to the absolute maximum to try and get back into those top 3 positions, although it's going to be quite difficult at this stage as he's 10 seconds behind. But you can see there a mistake from Olaf coming into turn 1. Payne trying to take advantage on the exit. A little bit of wheel banging there between the two. Payne not able to make the move just yet. You can see he's been pushing oh so hard with the ERS. He's down to just 8%, but cannot find a way past Olaf just yet, although he's going to have a good opportunity coming into this next DRS straight coming out of turn 11. So we'll have to see, will he be able to make the move? Well, we'll have to see. He doesn't have a lot of ERS, so it's going to be quite tricky. Gets a good exit though out of this turn 11. Turns on the ERS and the DRS with the power of the Slipstream 2. Can he find a way past? Going into this turn 12, he gets close, He's looking to the inside, he's pulled alongside, he brakes nice and late, hits his apex and gets the move done on Ole Olaf. Textbook move there from Payne, gets him up into P7, and he'll be looking to push even more with that.
Yeah, of course. And the other potential situation you've got is if woman gets past Bruno, it's going to be the case of then Bruno's going to have a lot more of a harder situation when we come to the final race next week.
Yeah, it definitely will, but you can see the gap between them is 2.7 seconds, so Wama is going to have to push quite hard, although there's every chance that he'll be able to catch up to that top 3, but he's obviously got this pressure from Miku behind. These two have been battling it out for quite a bit. You can see Miku quite low on the ERS. He was pushing to stay ahead, lost the position to Wama, and Wama is now trying to gain some ground to the two Alfa Romeos and the Alpha Tauri. But these guys have some really, really good pace today. And you can see XRT Bruno, he now has 87% ERS. He's not too worried about pushing on these hard compound tires. He's saving the ERS, and you know, with him saving the ERS, there's every chance that he might be looking to go for that overcut, because if these guys box before him, then he'll be able to use that ERS to make up the time, and once he comes out on mediums, he'll be ahead of these guys. So I think Bruno is definitely looking at an overcut strategy today, maybe looking at boxing lap 17 or 18, but obviously the two Alfa Romeos are going to have slightly split strategies, and that is because they're obviously both teammates who use the same pit crew, so they don't want to be double stacking with each other, so they now have to decide who is going to go for a little bit of an undercut, who is going to go for that little bit of an overcut. And if I had to guess, I think Kart Racer is definitely going to be going for a bit more of an overcut, because if Alex the G boxes early, then he will break the DRS to Bruno behind, because there's obviously going to be a bit of a gap between Bruno and Kart Racer. So there's a lot of ways this can play out, but I think the two Alfa Romeos will work together to make it work out the best possible way for them, because obviously these two Alfa Romeos have been doing quite nicely for themselves, and wow, if I'm not mistaken, I think they've actually secured, or maybe not just yet, they have 37-point lead over Mercedes, which obviously had QRTE in at the start of the season, but they're currently in the lead by 37 points and looking to secure this Constructors' Championship. So these are obviously two drivers that have been super consistent all season, and I think they're definitely used to working with each other at this stage.
Yeah, of course, and that's, I think, what makes a great team. You know, you look at the real life F1 teams down the years. One in particular, obviously, Bottas and Hamilton. In that regard, you know, winning so many constructors titles, and that's what Alfa Romeo have done this season. They've worked together, they have worked on each other's weaknesses, and they've just improved their all-round driving, and that's what they're doing now. They're leading the grid, and they're leading this race in P1 and P2. Bruno, I think, is probably scratching his head, wondering, what can I do next? How can I get past Alex in this situation? Because Alex is kind of using Kart Racer to put him along. So it's a situation where Bruno may have to go to the drawing board and maybe get them on the pit strategy.
Yeah, I think that's where this race is going to be won or lost, I should say, is the pit stop strategies. And well, speaking of pit stops, we see our first two drivers boxing on lap 14 for the medium compound tires. So they've gone for a bit of an undercut compared to everyone else. Like you said before, the expected pit window is lap 16. GSP Payne and EWS Miguel boxing on lap 14, try and gain some track position to the guys ahead. But we're now going to see what the pace of the mediums is like compared to NSX Hamilton ahead of Miguel. Obviously, they have this warm-up phase at the start of the stint where you have to get some heat into the tires before they start performing at their peak performance. But I think now that Miguel, he's gone through 11 turns, he's pretty much done half the lap and is about to enter the final sector. I think the tires are definitely up to temperature now. So you can see the gap is 10.4 seconds between himself and Hamilton. This is where the mediums will gain a lot of time, where there's a lot of mechanical grip used in the slow sections. And you can see just turn 12, 13, 14, and 15, Miguel almost gaining a second, gained 6/10 through there. Miku now coming into the pit lane for a fresh set of mediums, along with Miguel's teammate Olaf boxing for mediums. NSX Hamilton continuing on along with the top four. So Miku, that battle between himself and Womat raging on, and I think he's gone for a bit of an undercut here to try and gain that track position on Womat ahead of him. But obviously Miguel is in that DRS train too. You can see he's lost track position to Miku because he had to deal with that tyre warm-up phase, so Miku was gaining time on him for that first part of the lap, but now Miku has to suffer through the tyre warm-up phase. You can see the grip difference between the two. Is Miguel going to be looking for a move into here? I don't think he will. It's very tricky to overtake in this section, but maybe turn 11 will present itself as a good overtaking opportunity. You can see turns on the ERS, has a look to the inside. He's not going to be close enough to make a move going into there, but we now have a very long DRS straight where Miguel is going to have a good chance to possibly make a move. But Miku's tyres are definitely going to be up to temperature. You can see Miguel using all of his ERS. He wants his track position. Is he going to try for a move inside or outside? He looks to the outside, then to the inside. He sets a dummy to the outside and then sends it down the inside. Miku tries to go for the switchback. He now has the outside line for this turn 12. Miguel braking nice and late, and that was a very good move from Miguel to find a way past Miku. Defends the inside line coming into turn 15. That's a great move from the Aston Martin driver. But meanwhile, while those two are battling away, we see Alex G go for the undercut on Kart Racer and Bruno, and Wama coming in on lap 15, so one lap earlier than the expected pit stop window. And we're going to have to see what the gap is between Alex G and Wama, because obviously or Alex G and Bruno, because that's there's must be a pit stop distance between them, or will Alex G be able to get that gap under? Well, right now it's 18.5, so he might actually be looking to undercut, I should say, the top two.
Yeah, it will be that kind of situation as you mentioned before. It's going to be the situation, I think, also as well. Who is going to pit first? Is it going to be Bruno? Is it going to be Kart Racer? Because if Bruno holds out, each lap he does, Alex is just going to eat away at that 18.6 second gap. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see both Kart Racer and Bruno come in this lap, so then Alex can not be wasting too much tyre life to then re-overtake or defend from Bruno for that P2.
Yeah, they're now deciding, do they want to react? Kart Racer does, but as I predicted, Bruno, he's going for the overcut, and he's now using all of that ERS that he saved up in that DRS train. This is going to be in an attempt to possibly gain some time on Kart Racer, because obviously Kart Racer and Alex G, they both have to go through that tyre warm-up phase where they lose about 2 to 3 seconds. So XRT Bruno thinking he might be able to get track position if he uses all of his ERS and have the fresher tyres. You can see Alex G on warmer tyres makes his way past Kart Racer. Could Alex G possibly be on for a race win here? He's already broken DRS to Kart Racer, and Kart Racer is on cold tyres, so maybe Alex G, is he going to be looking to win this race for himself, or is he going to play the team game? It'll be interesting to see, but I think both drivers are going to wait for any team orders. Maybe they'll do that after Bruno pits, because they need to know where is Bruno going to come out. You can see 17.4 between himself and Alex G. So it looks like Bruno, if he boxes, he's going to come out behind Alex G, but you can assume he's gone down to 40% ERS that he will be boxing this lap. It'll be interesting to see where he's going to come out relative to the two Alfa Romeos. Meanwhile, the battle for P5 continues. Miku lost the DRS to Wama after trying to go for an overcut strategy. Miguel got himself a 3-second time penalty and is now battling it out for P6 with GSP Payne, who's on a bit of a recovery drive. But we now see XRT Bruno coming out of the penultimate turn. He now comes into the pit lane for a fresh set of medium compound tyres, which will take him till the end of the brakes. But Alex G is on a charge now, pushing flat out to try and gain track position on not only Kart Racer but XRT Bruno too, and it looks like he's even going to pull out a gap on XRT Bruno. He's got the fresh mediums on now. Where is he going to come out relative to the two Alfa Romeos? You can see Alex G passing the pit exit. XRT Bruno though, he's going to come out side by side with Kart Racer. They make a little bit of contact between them, but is Bruno going to get the track position? No, he's not. He has the colder compounded tires, and he almost made that overcut strategy work with using all of his ERS, but sadly cannot get the move done on Kart Racer. Now has to warm up his tires, but the one advantage that he will have is the benefit of fresher tires. And do you think fresher tires is going to be enough? Because you can see he hasn't got DRS to Kart Racer right now.
Yeah, fresh tires are not always everything to a race, as we've seen so far this season. And yeah, Alex will probably not hold up a fight here to Kart Racer, as they are battling as such for that race win. But yeah, I can't see Kart Racer having to attack very much on his teammate as they come through the final sector. But we have got a battle between Olaf and the third NLR driver on the grid, which is Olaf in the Aston Martin, as I think they're battling for P8 and P9.
Yeah, they definitely are. You can see being really aggressive with each other, trying to gain a few points on each other. NSX Hamilton goes for a very aggressive switchback move, but once again he has this outside line for the triple right, a bit familiar from a few laps ago, and falls down to P9. So these guys battling away for a couple of points. Meanwhile, GSP Payne, Miguel and Miku all in the same DRS train. But you can see Miguel, big lockup into turn 1. GSP Payne going for a similar move that he tried to go for on his teammate Olaf, but cannot get that move done and maintains P7 for now. Meanwhile, NSX Hamilton looking for another move once again, goes down the inside into turn 1 and gets that move done on Olaf up into P8 now. But I think the big talking point is XRT Bruno finds himself without DRS for this back straight, and this is going to affect him heavily in this race. But he's doing everything in his power. He's using the fresh tires to his advantage. He's using the ERS as much as he can. He needs to get back within DRS of these guys. You can see coming into here, this is where he's going to benefit the most, where the mechanical grip is taking over. Meanwhile, we have GSP Payne once again making the move on Miguel, moves himself up into P6. Can Bruno gain any time in this technical third sector? You can see going through the tricky bends of the third sector, he's gained 2/10. Can he get DRS for this pit straight? It would be absolutely crucial. Into the penultimate turn now, wide on entry, hits that apex very nicely, full with the track on exit into the final turn, but it doesn't look like he's got DRS for this straight, although he is getting very, very close. He's now within a second of the top two, but the next DRS detection point is on the exit of turn 10 coming into turn 11, so he needs to make sure he's within that 1 second going through there. You can see a little bit of a mistake going through turn 1, but he still manages to gain a little bit of time on exit purely due to the grip of his tires, and I think it's going to be very, very close. But if he can get DRS for this next back straight, I think he'll be back in this battle for the lead. We'll have to ride on board and see. You can see it's fallen down to 1.4 seconds, so struggling through that S section. You can see he's playing with the controller, and the controller definitely struggles through that S section through there, missing the apex. So Bruno needs to pick up the pace now, but if he can find himself in that DRS, I think his chances are really good in this race.
Yeah, it is looking good for quite a few people in this race, especially the ones without penalties. I think what would spice this up right now is a very late safety car. I think it can still happen. Oh, we've got a battle for P5, P6, Payne and Milowitsky. I believe that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, you can see the two battling away, but yeah, like I said, with time penalties, it's not even gonna matter too much if Payne finds a way past. He has got that 3 second time penalty to serve, whereas Miku Litsi, hasn't got a 3 second time penalty. So the Haas driver in a good position right now, looking to get a top 5 finish, while Wama looks to get a top 4 finish. But Bruno struggling to get within the DRS of the top 2. He really needs this DRS. If Kart Racer wins this race and Bruno comes P3, the chances of Kart Racer winning the championship next race increase significantly. So if Bruno doesn't win this race, his championship hopes might be over. Payne finds a way past Miku, moves himself up into P5. He can break, if he can break this DRS to Miku behind at a P5 finish, but it's going to be difficult. You can see he's got the gap to 7/10 after overtaking. Only problem is his red light has been flashing throughout that entire S section. That means he's below 10% ERS and struggling to harvest more. So I don't think he'll be breaking DRS anytime soon. But the battle for the top 3 continues. XIT Bruno, he's struggling. That gap has stayed pretty much consistent at 1.5 seconds. Hasn't been able to find a way to catch up to the top 2. Meanwhile, Kart Racer and Alex G have been conserving their ERS, not using it too much, although it does look like XRT Bruno is taking a similar approach. Could be looking to push quite hard towards the end of the race and conserve his ERS and tyres at this stage. Instead of using it all up to try and catch up to them and having nothing for the final few laps, which are obviously the most crucial. So maybe conserving a little bit and pacing himself. Do you think that might be a good approach to help him towards the end of the race with extra ERS and tyre life?
Yeah, I think you've got to always pace yourself kind of with managing ERS. It's a very crucial part of Formula One now. So yeah, I think them keeping as much of the ERS as possible, because Bruno is now out of the DRS completely. Oh, sector 3, yellow flags. That is Aishaki, I believe, has gone for a spin. Payne is also looking at potentially being dropped down to P6 at the moment. And Yagazan, if I don't think he's going to be making any positions with his 33.4 second gap, because he hasn't pitted, and Aishaki is our 3rd retirement for this evening. 11 drivers left with just over 5 laps to go.
Yeah, and I think that's a real shame to see Sharky there retiring from the session. A driver who we were mentioning at the start of the race as a driver to possibly do well. He's been showing great pace, but ever since that spin at the triple right, things have not gone well for him. And I think if he didn't have that spin at the triple right and was a little bit more consistent, I think he could be a driver that could definitely compete for top 5s, especially in this race where not many drivers were able to attend. Obviously, it's the end of the season. Maybe motivation is a little low, but it's not low for Kart Racer and Bruno. They need to make sure that they attend in the next round for the championship decider. Meanwhile, Bruno gains a little bit of time, loses a little bit of time, gets the gap down to 1.2. It goes back up to 1.5 in some sections. It's just fluctuating a lot at this stage, but you can only assume XRT Bruno is really just waiting for the opportunity, keeping everything stored up and saved up for the final few laps. And obviously, we are going to have 5 more laps after this lap, so not too many to go in this Grand Prix. So the opportunities are going to start to slim, as there's not going to be too many. But it's going to be interesting to see when Bruno actually picks his point to push, because if he picks it too late, obviously his chances of overtaking are going to be slim. There's not going to be as much time, and he might not be able to use all of the ERS that he's saved up over the past few laps. But if he pushes too early, he might catch up to the DRS and overtake, but have nothing for the final lap or two. So it's going to be very, very strategical for these final 5 laps. But the two Alfa Romeo drivers out in front and have a nice margin. It'll be interesting to see, are these guys actually working together, or are they both trying to focus on their own races? Because obviously we have Kart Racer, the NLR, both are NLR drivers in the Alfa Romeos. We have Kart Racer in the championship battle. Meanwhile, we have Alex G trying to get his first win in PSGL's Formula 7. And if I'm not mistaken, this would be not only his first win, but his first podium too, because he scored consecutively 8 points for the past 4 rounds, and I think you get 8 points for P4. So he's finished consecutively P4 for the past 4 rounds. So he's been bringing in a lot of points recently, but this is his chance to get his first top 3 and his first race win. So do you think we're going to see team orders towards the end of this race, or do you think now that Kart Racer is ahead of Bruno, we might see Alex G go for glory?
Well, I think you've got to look at this 2 ways. Is Alex willing to give up a potential race win? Because if he is, then, fair play to him. Every league racer, wants to win a race in any competition they're in. But as you can see now, that might not be the case, as Kart Racer is rapidly closing up to Alex. So I just wonder if Alex is going to play the team game. He knows that he's going to benefit both ways. So yeah, I think maybe the last 3 laps we might see Kart Racer take that race lead away from his teammate, which is Alex the G.
Yeah, and I think even if there isn't any team orders between the 2 Alfa Romeos, I think we could definitely see Kart Racer winning this race regardless, because as you can see, Alex G currently has 40% ERS. He's been using it quite a bit in these recent laps. Meanwhile, Kart Racer has been cruising quite a bit actually. He's got 87% ERS, so he's been conserving himself. You can see, I don't know if you heard there, but that was quite a big lift into that turn 12. He doesn't want to make the move yet. So I think even if there are no team orders, I think Kart Racer will be getting that position on pace and ERS that he has left. But Alex G, I think, is definitely on for his first podium today, as P4 is 4.4 seconds off of this battle. But one interesting fact to note, XRT Bruno now within DRS range of the top 2, and as Alex G crosses the line, he begins the final 3 laps of this race, and Bruno has finally gotten into this DRS, and I don't think he's actually used much of his DRS, maybe a little bit. I think he was up around 60%, now down at around 50, so he's caught up to Kart Racer, and you can see Kart Racer is starting to put a little bit of pressure under his teammate, trying to give him a little bit of an incentive to push and tell him that I've got XRT Bruno all over the back of me, and we now need to start pushing now that we're under pressure. But you can see Bruno, fresher tires, a little bit of a deficit between both of their ERSs. Kart Racer, a little bit of oversteer coming out of that turn 9. But I think Kart Racer is now at 100% ERS, so he's been conserving a lot this race. But you can see he's starting to use it because he's under pressure from Bruno behind. Bruno not using any of it just yet. maybe when if Kart Racer is going to make the move on Alex G, maybe Bruno could look to benefit off of that and get a cheap move on Alex G and then have those two battling out. But you can see GSP Payne, I think, is worth noting. He's been pushing like absolute mad for these last 8 laps or so. He's found a way past Miku. He's broken a 3-second gap, and now he's overtaken the Ferrari of Wama. So not only is he going to be finishing P5, but a potential P4, although it's looking unlikely. He has to break a 3-second gap to the Ferrari driver behind if he wants to finish P4. And as Alex G starts the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix, it's looking unlikely for him. Kart Racer starting to push with the ERS. Meanwhile, Bruno still saving his ERS. He's not picked his time to push just yet. He's going to leave this very, very late, isn't he?
Yeah, he is going to be leaving it very late. I think the reason why Kart Racer hasn't moved, because Bruno is right behind. And if they go for the switch, Bruno could just chuck one up, the inside kind of, I wouldn't say a last-ditch move, but it could be one that I think Kart Racer or even Alex might not be expecting. So I think Kart Racer might just have to settle for a P2 and let Alex have this win this evening.
Yeah, like you said, it's going to be tricky to make a move on Alex G without giving an advantage to Bruno behind. So Kart Racer has to do this very, very carefully. You can see he's very close to the back of his teammate, and there's not long left to go. We're coming towards the end of this penultimate lap and beginning the final lap of, not just yet, but we will be beginning the final lap of the race. You can see Bruno 50% ERS, Kart Racer 90% ERS, and Alex G on 50% ERS. So we might not even see any position changes, but you can be sure that they'll be trying. You can see Bruno still not using his ERS. This is an interesting strategy to see. Maybe saving all 50% for the back straight and the run down to turn 12. It would be a very risky strategy, but I think that's exactly what he's going to try to do. As you can see, Alex G pulling away from P2 and P3. Meanwhile, we have Bruno within 3/10 of Kart Racer ahead of him, coming through the S section, loses a little bit of time through here, a bit of correction on the steering. Now coming through turn 8, turn 9, you can see Kart Racer has gained a little bit of time, as he usually does in the first sector, but now we come on to this long DRS straight. I don't think Bruno will be able to make the move on Kart Racer, but Kart Racer is going to be forced to overtake his teammate. He's using plenty of his ERS, all of his ERS on this straight. You can see Bruno doing the exact same. Alex G, another man, using all of his ERS, but none of them able to make moves into this turn 12. No one has changed positions. It doesn't look like Kart Racer will be winning this race. But he will still have the lead of the championship if things stay as they are. You can see Kart Racer a little look to the inside, trying to scare his teammate off of his line. Cannot make a move stick, and it's not been good ERS management from Kart Racer. He's still got 70% left in the tank. If he had started pushing a lap sooner, maybe he could have gotten this race win. You can see Bruno using ERS as a last attempt, but Alex the G is going to come across the line to win this American Grand Prix here in COTA, and his very first, not only his very first podium, but his very first race win of the season. The Alfa Romeo team getting a 1-2. Meanwhile, Kart Racer finishes on the podium alongside his championship rival XR championship lead. Gains 2 points in this race over Bruno, and that now means the gap is going to be 11 points between XRT Bruno and Kart Racer, and the chances of the newly signed AlphaTauri driver winning this Grand Prix championship are looking highly unlikely, with the gap being 11 points and a race win being worth 16. It's going to be tricky for XRT Bruno to make up that margin, but who knows, maybe if we see a retirement from kart racer in the final round, we could see Bruno winning the championship. But wow, what did you think of that race? Very tactical between the drivers this Grand Prix.
Yeah, it was an end-to-end fantastic race, and yeah, Alfa Romeo pulled off a fantastic race strategy and race plan that ended them up in P1 and P2. And as you mentioned, going into the final race of the season, we have an 11-point gap as NLR Olaf takes driver of the day. It seems like it's an NLR all race. So as we look to the final, the provisional race classification pending any stewards investigations, and it is an Alfa Romeo 1-2.
A great race from the two NLR drivers. They'll be really happy with that performance, especially Alex the G getting his very first race, and then Kart Racer beating his championship rival in this particular race. So, yeah, good race from Alfa Romeo. XRT Bruno is going to be shaking his head. At one stage, it looked like the win was on in those early stages, but after that mistake from GSP Payne, it all went downhill from there. He finishes P3 in this Grand Prix. Wama puts in a good performance, finishes P4 for Ferrari, and I think he'll definitely be happy with that one. GSP Payne loses that 100% podium streak, I suppose you could call it, as he finishes down in P5. The reserve driver has shown great pace, and I think he definitely was another driver who could have gotten a race win or at least a podium, but finishes down P5 today. Miku finishes P6 for Haas. It's a good day from him. He's been scoring some very consistent points recently, and it's been overshadowed by a lot of the results. Miguel and his teammate Olaf finishing P7 and 8. NSX Hamilton scoring points in his very first Grand Prix in PSGL's F7, but obviously that's after there being only 11 finishers. Nonetheless, I'm sure he'll be happy with it. But yeah, there you go. That was an interesting COTA Grand Prix. But after that race, who would you give a driver of the day to if you had to? Who do you think performed the best today?
Um, Obviously, there's Olaf. I think Milowiski. If I've pronounced that wrong, I do apologise. Um, I think also you could probably put Bruno in that. You know, he knew what he was coming into. He managed to keep up with his championship rival. But yeah, I think it's a split between Olaf and Bruno for me. I think both had not quiet races, but got the job done, got themselves some solid points for the final race of the season. But it now leaves it all in Bruno to find those 11 points.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely Bruno had a good race. I think there could have been some better ERS management, especially from himself and Kart Racer. Kart Racer having 70% ERS coming across the line when ideally you want to have 0% crossing the finish line for the final time in a Grand Prix. So I think my driver of the day is going to have to go to Alex the G. That undercut, I don't think he even expected to gain the track position from it, but he managed to gain the track position and was able to hold it the entire race. Kart Racer wasn't too worried about pushing. He was playing it safe, but nonetheless, Alex the G had the pace to stay ahead, had good ERS management at the end, only had about 15% coming across the line. So managed his ERS very well and won the Grand Prix. So yeah, Alex G having a very good race today. But that is going to be it for round 10 of PSGL's Formula 7 here in season 31. And a very tactical race there. Not too much action towards the end, but quite a bit at the start. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you will join us for the final round of the season, which will be next week at 8 o'clock BST. But Yeah, between Kart Racer and Bruno, the gap will be 11 points. Kart Racer obviously having the advantage in this particular battle. And 11 points, that's quite the margin. So it's going to be very difficult for Bruno to beat him in the final round. But who knows? Maybe Kart Racer will miss the race, maybe have a DNF. But yeah, I think Bruno is going to have to get quite lucky in the final round. But I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next week for the very final round of this PSGL Formula or season 31, I should say, and obviously the championship decider between Kart Racer and Bruno, and that will be taking place in Silverstone for the season finale. But that's going to be all from myself and Storm. We hope to see you next week, and